Hello, and welcome. Projects made for YouTube are often somewhat of a compromise. A compromise between complexity, shoehorning whatever project you have into your video idea, and also timelines imposed by yourself or by others. However, this was purely a passion project, something I never really intended to film for YouTube, but it ended up going that way anyway. So join me today as I turn a $2 AliExpress clock kit into one of my favorite electronics projects of all time. This project really started a few months ago when I watched a Big Clive video. He had purchased one of these clock kits from AliExpress and assembled it and went over some of its workings. Now, the interesting thing about this clock is that it doesn't use a microcontroller. All of its movements are done purely with logic elements, AND gates, OR gates, all sorts of different gates arranged in a way that would sequentially display the characters it needed to display. Having this in a little kit form with all of its integrated circuits all picked out for me meant most of the footwork was already done. Although the kit came with everything I needed to build the clock, the form factor didn't really interest me too much, and I decided I would instead build this completely freeform. I started by plotting what connects to what. There's some schematics available online, but I wanted to double check it for myself before I started soldering things together. This did come back to bite me, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The main part of this clock is a crystal oscillator. This is run through some division circuitry, and then it outputs a 1 Hz signal. This 1 Hz signal goes into a series of decade counters, which in turn feed their binary outputs to a couple 7-segment display chips. I started from here as this would be the easiest to test. I cut the legs off the 7-segment displays and then painstakingly soldered on all of the connections here. You might think that there would be 7 connections between this decoder chip and the actual display itself. But there's actually a few more because you have a couple ground pins as well as an unused, for now, pin which is the little dot which will light up. It's always incredibly satisfying to pull these little chips out and see everything lined up so perfectly. Now, it was a little bit tricky to come around with how these chips are actually connected to each other. The display has a bunch of pins, some of which light the LED segments and some of which are other things like ground. But lining up which one actually goes where to this little output chip or to the decoder chip proved to be a little bit challenging. Although it does look pretty cool seeing everything connected together. I had soldered this thing to a little pin mount or pin header mount so I could put it in the breadboard. That way I would be able to test each segment individually before I had this whole thing soldered up into one massive block. Here we have it connected up to the decade counter, and right away you can see there's some sort of issue there. I have no idea what character that is, but it doesn't look right. At this point, I realized I had connected something wrong, and I went to bed. After some thinking, I realized that I had simply connected my LED display backwards, so it was left to right. I had been reading the diagram from the front instead of the back. This meant redoing almost all of my connections, but when that was done, it worked perfectly. This was the first major hurdle, and we had crossed it with only minimal dramas. Now that I had this functioning circuit, I could start building up the next part. That would be the decade counter that would control 2 of these, and then I would need to make 5 more copies of this exact circuit. We got started building up the decade counter, and this would be soldered together with another copy of the same circuit, which would do both of the segments for each seconds, minutes, and hours. I decided to build these as one entire unit. That way I could mix and match them because they're almost the same circuit with a couple very minor differences. So I could copy this just one after the other and build a whole bunch of them. I wouldn't say I had a factory going or a production line, but it kind of felt a little bit like that. Speaking on that, I have no idea how you could mass produce something like this. These are pretty complicated, and each one has to be bent very, very specifically, and each wire has to be kind of custom made for each point. Imagine if you did a factory production line where you just had a bunch of these coming off. Now that we have one assembly ready to go, we can test that. So what should happen is as this rolls up closer and closer to 9 and crosses over 9, it should set a 1 into that next spot, which it does. So that means we have a successful minute, hour, or second counter. So I just have to build a whole bunch more of these. After how easy it was to build the original plugin testing thing, I decided to actually build each of these as their own unit. This would be somewhat reminiscent of the old vacuum tube assemblies that you would see on very old computers. It would also make servicing and building the more complicated parts of this thing down the road a little bit easier. Here you can see my production line did in fact make enough of these. So I have 3 almost identical versions of these: decade counters, decoding chips, and the actual LED assemblies themselves. At this point, I was already several weeks into this project. Small setbacks and the fact that I was only really working on this maybe an hour or two after work and on weekends meant that it seemed like there was so much more ahead of me, and partly because there was a lot more ahead of me, especially because I'd love to add little things into it and features and capabilities down the road that ended up making this more complicated than it needed to be. Maybe not than it needed to be, maybe than it could have been. But I guess that's kind of the point, isn't it? Once I had the actual display assemblies ready to go, I needed to build sort of a chassis. So I have the pin header receivers, the plugs, whatever they're called, and I soldered these on to wires that would run lengthwise along the entire assembly. These would carry power, ground, and signals to different parts of the chip, and then on the back we would have the rest of the computing part. So the main part I would be building next would be the timing setup. So the crystal oscillator and the division circuitry to produce the signal that would actually drive these little displays. Interestingly enough, the circuit oscillating chip doesn't output a 1 Hz signal. It outputs a 2 Hz signal. I don't know why this is exactly, but it means that you have to feed the output into a Class D flip-flop, which divides that by 2 and gives us the proper 1 Hz signal. The cool thing about this flip-flop chip is it actually has an extra flip-flop on the other side of this that's not used, which I think I'll be able to repurpose later on in this project. The other interesting part is how this feeds signals between the two chips. Now obviously you could just use a full-on decade counter, but that would count to 10 and we actually only need to count to 60, and then 60, and then 24. So the way they do this is they have an AND chip, which takes 2 outputs which are only high during certain numbers, in this case 6, which then triggers a reset for that assembly and then carries the bit, or I guess the number, onto the next assembly, which is really clever, and part of the reason I thought this clock was so cool when I first saw the circuit up from it. These chips didn't have a whole lot of room around them, so I ended up stacking a lot of the parts in between the chips, hiding them out of the way, but making serviceability and soldering an absolute nightmare. Here we can see the crystal oscillator actually works, our divide by 2 circuit works, and we've got numbers. And the best part is it even carries over and we have a second counter. Here you can see everything plugged in, and in fact all of the digits actually work at this point. So we now have a functioning clock. We don't have a way to set this clock, which is problematic, and this is where my clock's design diverged the most electronically from the original one. I designed a very complicated time setting circuit which would allow me to use a rotary encoder to actually set the time, as well as a delay so that the setting would be turned off most of the time. This took a lot of extra design time, but I think the look in the end was worth it. At this point, even when I was sleeping, I was thinking about the brass wires, the bends, what electrical circuits I could add, the brightness control. It wasn't quite madness, but it was getting close. One other technical thing I wanted to add to this clock was a brightness control. I wanted something that would automatically dim the clock at night, so that even if it was in a bedroom and you looked at it, it would be not blinding in the middle of the night. I did this with a simple 555 oscillator circuit. I took a triangle wave off the capacitor and then fed that into an op amp, which would generate a PWM signal from it. This, along with a series of resistors and photoresistors, would adjust the PWM duty cycle so that this would dim and brighten quite a lot, actually. The range is really, really large, which allows me to have this thing on even in the middle of the night, and it's not distracting or hard to look at. The LEDs were all driven through this MOSFET, driven off the output of our op amp. Here you can see I'm getting into some serious constrained areas here. Each of these new wires had to be bent multiple times to fit around the existing ones, and the layout was not entirely pre-planned, so that some of these things were kind of in the way of things that I had already done. Better planning could help, but man, I didn't know where I was going at the start of this. Many of the elements here had a bit of a proof of concept build and then a final build. So I refined the mount for the rotary encoder, I changed some of the indicator lights, and I set up a couple extra things that I didn't really show on the camera as well. But here it is. This is the completed project, a completely functional digital clock with no microcontroller. This is digital, this is really a digital clock, but yeah, there is nothing on here which is programmable. This also includes a lot of analog circuitry, both in the brightness control and the rotary encoder decoding circuitry and time setting stuff. I've also included a couple other little features, like you can tell if you're setting the minutes or the hours by the little blinking dot, which I repurposed on the LED 7-segment displays. The brightness control is adjustable as well, so you can adjust the max brightness and the minimum brightness. So this is it, a clock you can plug into a standard USB outlet, set, and it will continue to run forever. Or however long these little crystal oscillators keep their time for. I don't know, it's probably good enough. Thanks for watching, take care, I'll see you next time.